topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. The show that we've got coming up now, we just got the greatest text from a listener. We start promoting the show a couple days out. And as somebody who just found the show for the first time, and of all the questions I've asked to our expert, attorney Andrew Rosenberg of the Rosenberg Law Firm, I thought was such a great question. Good morning, Andy.
Hey, good morning there, Steve-O. How are you? Happy Monday.
Yeah, I hope you had a happy Father's Day. And
I did. I hope you did as well.
Yeah, my kids are in Dallas, but you know what? When you get older and you get a phone call, that's all that matters. Hey, they were thinking about you.
That's true. That's true. I got one that's in New York right now and one down here, so I was able to see one of the two.
That's wonderful. So, Andy, first of all, tell everybody, because we find that we get so many people who are finding the show for the first time. Tell people about the Rosenberg Law Firm.
Yeah. So the law firm's been around for a long time, as I am officially an old fart. So the firm is in Coral Springs, Florida. That's where our main office is. I have a satellite office that I use in Weston, and another one that I have access to in Boston, in Boca Raton. So I do have access to different locations, but the main office is in Coral Springs. And we do wills, trust, estate planning, and probate and elder law. So that's our area. I've been doing it for, I think, 30 plus years now, Steve-O.
You look so young.
I don't know. I got a lot of gray hair in my hair now, but at least I still got it. I still got hair, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, so I live in I live in Weston, but I have an office in the Coral Springs area. And we serve the whole state of Florida.
You know what's cool, Andy, that we've probably had 4 or 5 people write us checking up on your health because you had some health issues. And I thought that was so cool, just people writing, how's Andy doing?
Yeah. No, it's, I've had a lot of health issues, unfortunately, over my years between all my athletics. I was a Division I tennis player. And because of that, I've had to have a fake knee and a fake hip put in. And a rotator.
I know about that.
And a rotator surgery on the shoulder for the tennis arm. But besides all that, I've had a ton of kidney stones. So we had an episode not long ago where I was struggling with kidney stones, and I've had like 15 to 20 of them over the past couple of years. It's been horrible, and I've been going through genetic testing to find out why I'm producing all this stuff. And so far, we're trying to get to the bottom of it. But I'm doing okay, guys. I had to have surgery because I had one that just wouldn't pass. It was too big, and that was not fun. But we got through the surgery, and I got through the stent that they put in through your private. And but I'm through. I'm doing great. I feel great, and I'm just trying to stay in shape and stay healthy.
I just thought that was so nice. People taking the time out just to write, asking how you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's always
that
nice
was really cool. So I got to tell you, we got a letter this morning.
What'd you get?
And it said, I just found the show. Can you walk me through when a person comes to your office who has no will, who has not planned at all because I'm too lazy. Can you walk us through the steps that you take once a person comes in? I thought
Absolutely.
that was a great question.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's as you know, Steve-O, I do a lot of workshops, and so that's usually a question I actually get at the workshop at the end. They're like, "Well, what do we do? How do we prepare when we want to meet with you?" So, this is the answer I give to everybody. Number one, it is a low key meeting. Okay, don't panic, don't freak out when you're meeting with an attorney to talk about your estate plan. That's number one. I try to make it as easy going as we can. Number two, it would help, it's not required, but it would help to have a general idea of what you have asset wise. Meaning you have a house, you have stocks, you have bonds, you have life insurance, all that kind of stuff. Just get a basic understanding of what you have, approximate values of them. And the most important thing, for me at least, and is how are these assets titled? That's really what I'm going to ask the question of. It's not, believe it or not, the amount of dollars is not as important as how they're titled is more important to me in the long run. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But I mean, so that first meeting is I get to know you session. I need to understand what keeps you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and
Ah,
I ask that question. I go, what is keeping you up at 2 o'clock in the morning in regards to your estate plan? I want to know what is going on, what's bothering you. And then once I get that information, whether you have an estate plan or not, I'm going to start asking questions about what you have asset wise, how things are titled, the approximate dollar amounts, etc. And then from there, in that first meeting, I'm going to analyze the whole situation and I'm going to hopefully give you a couple of options of what we can do. I'm like, here's option A, and it's going to cost X dollars. Here's option B, and it's going to cost Y dollars. And there might be an option C, which will cost Z dollars. And I'll give you a bunch of different options. And then that's pretty much the meeting. And then if you want to move forward, then we schedule what we call a design meeting. That's what I call it, a design meeting. And at the next meeting, that's when I'm going to sit down and we're going to actually design the plan for you. And we're going to go through and ask for all the information as far as who we want to name as your healthcare surrogate, your durable power, your trustee of your trust, who you want to give distributions to. Are there any specific distributions you want to give to certain people, etc. So the first meeting is a discovery meeting, for lack of a better term. And then if we want to move forward, then we sign paperwork and then we schedule a design meeting. The design meeting is going to be what the heck are we going to do and who's it going to and how. And then the last meeting is the signing meeting. So it's typically 3 meetings with me as the process goes. And that's whether you have an estate plan or you don't. Because a lot of people, Steve-O, come to me and they already have some sort of an estate plan that was done 20 plus years ago. And they're like, I
right.
got something 20 years ago. Now what do I do? And I'm like, well, it's probably not going to be valid. We probably need to, it's not going to be up to date. And so we're probably going to have to redo a bunch of stuff. And so I get a lot of those people. And then I get a lot of people that have nothing in place. And I always tell people, Steve-O, in fact, I told you I wrote a book and I do videos and everything else. And at the end of my videos and at the end of my workshop, I try not to get people upset. But and my book is titled the same thing. I'll look right into the camera on the video, or I'll talk to the people at the workshop, and I'll tell them, and I'll say this, and you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, and remember, if you don't plan, you're stupid. And that's what I tell people. I go, you got to. I can't tell you, Steve-O, how many situations I've had where someone tells me something that has happened and there's nothing we can do at that point. It's too late. And so what everyone needs to understand is that life happens and we can't control when it's our time. And everyone thinks that they have until tomorrow to do something, and then tomorrow never happens is the problem. In fact, Steve, I'm going to tell you a quick story that happened over the weekend.
People love your stories,
I
Andrew.
know. I know. So I get these calls all the time, guys. You got to understand, I get these calls all the time. I got a call from someone, emergency meeting. So it was on Friday. So we had the emergency meeting, and the meeting was with the daughter and the ex-wife and the uncle of the daughter. And it was for the father slash ex-husband slash brother. And apparently he was 50, approximately 52 years old, and had a stroke or a heart attack, and is in the hospital, and is not on life support, but is obviously unconscious and not doing great. And they called me and they said, "What can we do to plan for this situation?" And I
Wow.
said, to them, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "Oh, what do you mean? What can you do to plan?" I said, "You can go to court. That's what you can do." They said, "We need someone to handle his financial affairs and to deal with all the healthcare decision making." I said, "Well, the healthcare decision making, the hospital is going to probably follow the next of kin rules if there's nothing in place, which means the daughter is going to be the one that's going to be in charge, not the ex-wife, not the brother, no one like that. It's probably going to be the daughter, and they may not agree that the ex-wife and the daughter and the brother may not all agree, so it's a problem." So they said, "Well, how do we do something?" I said, "Well, you can't." I said, "He's incapacitated." And they said, "Well, how do we handle all the financial affairs?" I said, "You can't. He's incapacitated." But literally, Steve-O, this was on Friday.
Why do people wait so long, Andy?
Because people think that they have until tomorrow.
Uh,
And I talk about it in the workshop. I talk about it in my book. We talk about it here in the podcast. People think they're invincible, buddy. They think that
well,
that nothing's going to happen to them. Listen, I'm the first one to be an example of that. As I
you're
told
an
you,
athlete.
I'm an athlete, yeah, but I had a heart attack. I'm coming up. It will be June 22nd. Will be 9 years, and I had a massive heart attack in the swimming pool. But the difference between that gentleman that we just talked about and me is that I had a full plan in place, and I was not worried. So if it was my time, my family was fine. The situation with this guy that's in the hospital, they're in trouble. There's nothing. I told her, so there's nothing I can do. I go, if he gets better and he's able to communicate, and they said he's starting to, it looks like, get better. I said, well, then you need to do this stuff now. Once the doctors clear him to say he's of sound mind and competent to handle things, then you need to do the estate plan. And you know what was funny, Steve-O? At the end of my phone call with the daughter and the ex-spouse and the uncle, they all said, we need to schedule meetings with you.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And you know,
How many?
and you know what's funny, Steve-O? Ask me how many have made an appointment.
How many?
None.
Wow.
Yep.
It's amazing. I just wonder, like, people who come to you that don't even have a will yet. Isn't that surprising to you?
Yeah. Yes and no. I've been doing this for a long time, Steve-O, and it's the majority of people that don't have anything. That is the majority. I mean, that is the norm. But it still surprises me to this day, only because I'm okay. She's her. I have an appointment already here. Anyway, it surprises me in the fact that I have kids. They're 26, 27, and 24, something like that. I don't remember how old my daughter is, 26 or 27.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but as soon as I got married, we had our wills done, my wife and I, and then as soon as we had kids, we updated everything, obviously. So I'm surprised with people that have families that have a husband or a wife or a significant other, and they have kids and they've never done anything. That really surprises me. It does. It's to this day it still surprises me. I'm like, people come in to meet with me and they have kids my age. And I go, what the hell causes you to meet with me now versus 27 years
Right.
when you had a kid? And they said, I don't know. We just said we got to take care of things. We're getting older. And I'm like, okay, makes sense. But life happens.
how about the people who do have a will but never go back and look at that will because things change?
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a real problem, and that's a scary situation in my opinion. And I wrote in my book about this process, and I tell people all the time, on our podcast together, and in the workshops and everywhere else. I tell people, listen, estate planning is not static; it's dynamic. What?
Yes,
And then they say, what do you mean? I said, things change, life changes, people come in and out of your life, you have relationships, you get in fights, you get pissed off with people, you want to get back in touch with people. You got to review your estate plan. For In my opinion, it should be reviewed on a yearly basis, once a year. I Listen, I charge my clients $500 an hour when they meet with me, and I created this whole private client group called the Estate in One Place Private Client Group this year, and I have a built-in price, and there's all sorts of things that come with it, and one of those things is it's built into that price is that you meet with me once a year, and it's all built into this one set price. And the reason I do that, by the way, Steve-O, is because it's dynamic, and people need to make sure that their beneficiaries are up to date, that their wills are up to date. I can't tell you how many times I've told the story where there was an ex-wife divorce situation 20 plus years ago, and they never changed the beneficiary form in the guy's IRA, and he had over $1 million+ in his IRA, and his beneficiary was his ex-wife, and
ex-wife. Oh my
and the
gosh.
ex-wife got everything, and the kids got nothing, and there was a huge court battle, and the ex-wife's going to win more likely than not. So
Wow.
yeah, it is scary. I find that more scary, Steve-O, than people that come in without anything.
Well, a friend of mine just passed a couple
Sorry.
of weeks ago, well known. His name is Bernie Carrick. He was the head of the New York City Police Department. In fact, he was the head when 9/11 happened. And here's a guy who's in great shape, looked incredible, and at 62 years old, passed away from a heart attack.
Oh,
And I wonder, it's like, did he have any plans made thinking he was so strong and healthy that he doesn't need a plan right now? He'll get to it. And I wonder about that.
yeah. I wonder about that every time I hear about someone passing away. I mean, unfortunately, it's in my DNA, because that's what I do.
Yes,
That is my, that's in the back of my head. That's the first question I ask. I hope they had everything put in place. I hope they had an estate plan. I hope they had life insurance. I hope they had everything set up properly so that the kids are taken care of and the wife is taken care of, or the husband, etc. And I usually hear more about the situations where things are not set in place than they are set in place. And the people that you think are that have everything in place are the ones that usually don't. You know, and the example we give, the perfect example is down here in South Florida. Steve-O, is Joe Robbie and the Dolphins. The
oh
reason
yeah,
the reason they had to sell the Dolphins many moons ago was because they didn't have proper estate planning, and they had a huge tax bill and they couldn't afford it. They had to sell and liquidate the team to pay for the taxes. If they had proper estate planning in place, that would have never happened. And then
exactly. And
we talked about in prior broadcasts about Gene Hackman, about how he didn't have his estate plan in order. He didn't talk about static versus dynamic. He did an estate plan 20 plus years ago, never looked at it again. He never thought that he was going to outlive his wife, because his wife was so much younger.
exactly.
His wife was so much younger, and they didn't have a contingency plan for the estate plan if she doesn't survive him. And now you got the kids fighting with the estate and the charities to figure out who's getting what.
And Andy, you handle elder law too. And what's so important is people, it's so important about planning. Elder law is just gone through the roof.
Yeah, yeah,
Long-term care is just amazing. In fact, I just read the other day that, it's one of the biggest home care facilities here in South Florida. Can't remember the name of it. And um, it's expensive to be there, but now they're telling people to have to go up even 20% more, and people can't afford it anymore. But who plans for the elder law is so important to plan for, isn't it?
yeah. It's really, really, really important. Um, yeah, that's the problem, and my in-laws are a perfect example.
Morse Life is who I'm sure you probably heard of Morse Life.
Yeah.
It was just a big article about how they're increasing to stay there. But that's what I'm saying. We have an older population down here, and it is so important that you get especially long-term care.
Well, the problem is exactly what you talk about, Steve-O, is with the long-term care insurance market. You can buy an insurance policy and have it in place for a long time, and they keep jacking up the premiums to a point where it's
Right.
unaffordable, and they have to drop the policy. And then they end up not having any insurance in place, and then they need to go to an assisted living or nursing home. And then what happens? And that's the problem. So, and I preach this all the time. The issue is as follows: just so people know, elder care, in my opinion, my definition of elder care is when someone has to go into an assisted living or have home health care or have a nursing home situation. And the question becomes, how do you pay for all that? And the
Mhm.
best way, like we were talking about, Steve-O, is with long-term care insurance. That's obviously the best way. The problem is the long-term care insurance has become unaffordable. And as you're older to try and get it, forget it. It's way too expensive, and it's too late at that point. I just got long-term care insurance. I'm 57 years old, and it's not cheap for me, and I'm young. So it's getting to a point where it's unaffordable. There's different hybrids of long-term care insurance now where it won't jump as much, and you need to talk to someone that really knows what's going on in regards to that. But again, if you have a situation where you're going into a nursing home or assisted living and you're concerned about having your income and your assets get dwindled, you need to reach out to me because there are ways legally to plan technically overnight, basically, to get things done. But that's elder care. And again, we're running out of time today, but I just want to make sure people know that there is a way to plan in Florida for that situation, even if you don't have long term care insurance.
And do you have any classes coming up? Any workshops?
I have one coming up actually tomorrow, Steve-O. We have one coming up tomorrow at in the Coral Springs area at the Total Wine in Coral Springs. I think it's a 5:30, 5:45 start time, 5:30, and it usually starts around 5:45, and it lasts for about an hour to an hour and a half. I try and get done by 7 p.m., especially tomorrow night because we got the Panther game. I want to make sure I'm home to watch the game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're
So
a Panther fan.
absolutely. So we will definitely.
I am too.
Yeah, yeah, go Panthers. But yeah, I have a workshop tomorrow night at the Total Wine in Coral Springs. It's called Estate Planning Essentials. If you have an interest, please contact the office at 954-755-7803 to make a reservation.
Andy, as always, thank you so much. Go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
Yeah, I am so into the. Well, I've always been a huge Panther fan, but thank you so much, Andrew, and have a wonderful and blessed week. Stay healthy, my friend.
You too, and feel better from the cold, Steve-O.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Thanks so much. That's Andrew Rosenberg, attorney Andrew Rosenberg, one of the greatest estate planning attorneys in South Florida. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Rebel. We'll see you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.